the Business Simplicity Podcast, where leaders share their most successful strategies and the failures that inspired them, so business owners and managers can avoid the suffering and reap the benefits. With your host, Chris Parker.
And welcome to the Business Simplicity Podcast. This is Chris Parker, and I am having a conversation with Michael Smits, who has just come back from something that I'm very jealous about, which was a workshop with some incredible people in I want to call it Granada, Spain, where they created something. I was able to participate leading up to that. But Michael, before we get into sort of who you are and why you're here, can you just share, just jump right into that story of what happened with that group of people recently, and how do you feel about that?
Yeah, actually, I'm really pleased that you start with that, because I still feel the energy. It's been a couple of days ago that we all sort of came back from, went back to our individual caves, so to say, in parts of the world. But it was quite surreal, because there were 50 of us that actually physically came together. And then, as you know, Chris, there were many more that contributed prior to it. And this is a bunch of people who are all amazing human beings working in the field of innovation or other types of work. And everyone came together with the purpose of creating something that other people can use and carry as a framework to do whatever their purpose is. And we've been working together in different ways or form for about 2 years, and it was like a reunion. I had never seen any of these individuals before. And here you literally walk into a room, and you look around, and it's like coming home. It's really like coming home, and you felt it as well as we were working on the manifesto. I mean, I'm sure you're gonna ask me a little bit more about it, but that's what brought this about, and it emphasized for me how powerful purposeful collaboration between individuals, diverse individuals, is. And it also shows how when you forget everything, where you come from, whatever background you have, or which perspective or through which glasses you look at life, when you come together around an aligned, meaningful purpose, it just works. It's just, yeah, it's beautiful. Does that answer your question?
It definitely, the answer question of how you feel about it. Absolutely. I'm also reflecting from the audience that they still have no idea what we're talking about.
Yes.
Can you share what was the output or the outcome of this, and how did we get there? Yeah.
So, as I said, many of us, we're believing in or wanting to contribute to creating a better future, whatever this future looks like. And we're all doing our own bits and pieces, but we're always starting with a purpose. Like I said, what do we wanted to achieve? So we thought, okay, we need to write a manifesto on this. What does that actually mean? So that, because even though it's something untangible, can we make it a little bit more tangible, so that we can, through that, inspire others to do? I mean, and let's not just talk about a better future, but what can we actually do? So we wrote a manifesto. It's called the Purpose Manifesto. We collaborated with you and many others over the course of 3 weeks to sort of form a structure, and we picked that up and the insights from that, and work together over a course of 2.5 days to put together a manifesto. And we purposely wanted to make it crisp, simple, easy for people to understand. And that's it.
And people can find the Purpose Manifesto at literally purposemanifesto.org.
Correct.
And across the top of it, it says and this is really the entry into the manifesto. Our purpose is inspiring everyday actions to make the world a better place. So that is the vision or the ambition of the Purpose Manifesto.
Exactly, or it's like it's the purpose of the Purpose Manifesto in a way, right? Or at least the group of people that are started it, but also those that are going to read it and sign it. Hopefully, believe in that purpose as well. Is to inspire each other with whatever we do, but also to take action, however big this action is. Yeah. And then it consists, I don't know, I mean, I invite people to go to purposemanifesto.org, but it consists out of a set of beliefs, values, and each value has 2 principles. So there's 6 beliefs, 5 values, 10 principles.
Yeah, and it's on one page, and there's a bit more that describes a little bit in more detail, some of these things. But my participation on it was really as sort of the virtual or remote group over the 3 weeks, if I remember that Francisco was hosting some calls and basically raising the challenge and sort of piece by piece. There's an online, co-creative, collaborative place, and then there was a voting round, and all that was brought in as the input into what happened offsite. So before we continue on that path, I'd like to loop back and discover a little bit about you. And I'm curious, can you describe in as short as way possible, because you're involved in a lot of things, what is it that you do?
Well, I'm a coach and a mentor. That's what I would like. So I coach, mentor, and facilitate to bring about new type of solutions. And I dabble in 2 things. One is very much focused on finding new solutions, which is innovation, and the other thing is has to do with well-being of humans and planet. So there's happiness, resilience, mindfulness, those things. So that's what I do. I try to help people and organizations with both those aspects.
And maybe not surprising based on the conversation so far, why? Like, what is your own mission or purpose? What is it, or why is making this impact so important to you?
That's an interesting question, actually, because I know my purpose. I mean, my purpose is to do anything that I can contribute to eventually create a world of total human and planetary well-being. Essentially, I mean, now I'm getting very philosophical, but if we do this right, then we no longer need business models in healthcare, because people would be healthy and planet would be healthy and everything would be in synergy. I hope I'm not losing the audience here, but essentially, that is my vision. And it's interesting that you asked me why, because it started very young. And I've always been very purpose driven. It's allowed me to travel the world. I mean, I've lived on all continents, and I've done different things, from conflict resolution to peace building to facilitating innovation. But for me, for many people, it feels odd. It's like, okay, it does not connect it. But for me, it's organically connected, because in the end, it's all about bringing people closer together and making them see that we're very much alike, and we can work as cogs by amplifying each other's potential and then making things into a success together. It's always been my drive, and it's very intrinsic. It's very intrinsic. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. I believe there's a direct, almost causation from travel to this embracing of more of a holistic view. Earlier today, I was talking with someone reflecting on sort of this astronaut effect. Apparently, when astronauts come back and when they've seen the Earth from such a different abstract perspective, and then you really see that it is all one, they come back just changed. And I read in your bio that 60 plus countries. I think last count I'm at 57. It changes how you see things. That how in one way we're so gloriously different and so fundamentally the same. And then if you get into mindset change, which I understand is also something passionate. So if we can shift from sort of the scarcity to abundance mindset, and realize that one of the values of the Purpose Manifesto is collaboration over competition. Is like, wait a second, why do we need this medical system as it is if things can be so abundant and holistic? So mindset, and something that is maybe a little bit further away from the Purpose Manifesto, but maybe it's connected, is you are busy with something about like changing mindset of youth, so call it from the outset. Can you share a bit of that?
Yeah. Again, if I look at, for example, my own childhood, but also look at my own children and children of others, and see how they've moved around, and every single time they were capable of just sort of making these connections and often on the playground, just playing together, not even speaking the same language, coming from totally different fields, and it just sort of organically takes place, just like it happens in nature, right? And so we're all born with that capacity. And then I'm going to diss the educational system that we've created, which was, by the way, one of the most beautiful, innovative projects in the world. I mean, we needed something to very rapidly train people, and that was brilliant. We managed to do that, but it needs. Yeah, it's outdated because we're still sort of having this conveyor belt system, and not really cultivating those sprouts that everyone is born with, and turning that into beautiful, strong flowers that can work like, it's kind of the way I compare it always is with gardeners, right? Gardeners don't make the flowers grow. They just create the right circumstance and cultivate it for it to organically to happen. And it's the same thing. We're not doing that enough within our world, especially in education, for that to take place. So for me, it is important that I, within my limited capacity from coaching and innovation and helping with self, that we try to at least make sure that the least amount of that beautiful and genius that's already built in gets lost. And to connect the individuals together, right? So, because not everyone wants to become a lawyer or a doctor, but some do. How beautiful would it be is if you, from a purpose perspective, help them from a young age. What do I want to do with my life? And then connect to people that can make it happen, because you can all be a cog in each other's success. I know it's an idealistic concept, but if you, for example, break down little other types of methodologies in education, like for example, Montessori, right? Our son went to a Montessori school, and I saw the difference because they immediately from an early age, they're empowered to think about planning. What is it I need to do? They're given a schedule. It's still structured. But it's no longer someone telling you what to do. No, you start to see why it is needed for me to get somewhere. I don't know if that makes any sense, but we need more of that. And even in our adult world, there's so many beautiful things that are happening, but it's all fragmented. A lot of it is fragmented. We need to weave things together. Yeah. So we need to all become gardeners. I
think you're preaching to the choir here a bit, meaning the one size fits none approach to education, which I agree, has elevated humanity in so many ways. But I think this overly structured directive approach is then carried on into the workplace. And so when you're talking, I'm actually thinking about the role of management. And I've had some pretty intense conversations with people about, like is the role of management to drive outcome, or is the role of management to create the space for people to achieve outcome? And for me, I'm very much in the latter.
Yes, absolutely.
And there's some other also extremely successful managers and executives that drive the other way. So it's I think it really depends on the context and the people involved as well. So, Michael, looping back to the Purpose Manifesto.
Yeah,
I guess the question is for me a big so what? Meaning, there's a piece of paper that some people made. How can a human, as an individual private person, or as a working person, or a business owner, but how can a human benefit from the Purpose Manifesto? What can this mean to people?
Yeah, so Chris, we're just at the start of it, right? So the idea is to kind of like what I said. We hope that the Purpose Manifesto not only becomes a beacon light for people to start seeing that you can live a life with purpose, and that purpose can turn into something beautiful. We can't create a better future if we don't start designing it first, right? So and you can't design something when you don't see it, or it's about reimagining together. And the Purpose Manifesto is trying to sort of create that spark or amplify that spark, because a lot of people already have it. And those that don't, bring that spark to life. And from that, our moonshot is, for example, is to have 1 billion people and 1 million organizations sign it by 2030. We're only at the start. We just started this. There's going to be different iterations, I'm sure, in the future. But it's key to sort of bring people together into the direction of creating a better world by inspiring each other with action.
You said at the start, I think you're almost done, because after this podcast, it's going to be close to 1 billion signatures, I'm sure of it. At least it'll be a start. So the call to action, or what we're trying to inspire, I think, through this conversation is if you're listening, please go to purposemanifesto.org. You can click on read the manifesto. I think it's in English, I think also Spanish. And you can
other languages.
Yeah, you can digitally sign it just right there. And in signing it, that is saying, hey, I acknowledge this. I appreciate this. I would take it maybe a step further, and maybe putting it in a business context. And this is not a business only manifesto. This is really, I see this as a human, beacon manifesto. But if there's so much talk about purpose-driven strategies and purpose, or at least in the companies that I work with. And oftentimes it can be just like we've written a purpose statement now in our brand book. Check. Now let's get back to the daily grind. How brilliant would it be if someone printed this off or brought it into their management team and had a meaningful dialogue about each of these beliefs and values and principles, and just had a discussion on what does this mean to us as people in this business? Meaning that, like, we believe everyone can have a positive impact.
Yeah.
Are we acting in a way that everyone in our organization truly is enabled to make that positive impact? I think that is a profound question to wrestle with. Purpose provides meaning to people and organizations. Is that true? This whole purpose over profit. One of these things is really about over purpose over profit, I think. But is the reason that your organization the reason it exists is that truly meaningful for people, or is it just branding? And maybe just branding's enough. Maybe you're successful enough without it. I don't know. So I think just wrestling with that and having a conversation would be a wonderful place to start.
Well, Chris, the way I look at it is that in itself is an inspiring action, right? So bringing these organizations to your workplace, but even to your day life. I mean, if at all, on a personal level, people have thought about what their values are. The next question is always, okay, so you have these values, are you living them? What we try to do is create with the manifesto is to, it's low threshold because I think it's a set of beliefs and values and principles that together really give a great idea as, okay, what would the world look like if we actually start living in according to these, or at least some of these, because you don't even have to agree with all of it, right? It's just, it has to speak to you. It's I compare it to a piece of art. You might not actually see what the artist intended to convey, but it still speaks to you. And if it speaks to you, then by all means, please sign it, spread it, share it, and let's start having it, like you said, a conversation, either with yourself, family, friends, and colleagues about, okay, how can we create a better world by starting, for starters, live more in line with our values and what kind of world we want to create. There's elements in here in the manifesto, like you said, collaboration over competition, starting with purpose, before problems and solutions. There's so many solutions out there that are brilliant and with great technology, and then they have to find the problem that fits it. Another thing in there is can we find ways to bring accountability in the mix, so that when we look at sustainability or when we look at growing business, we look at all three of the P's: the profit, the people, and the planet. They're not mutually exclusive from each other. So those things.
Great. So again, this is all available at purposemanifesto.org. Read it, be inspired by it or not. Sign it if you're so inspired. And I'd like to start wrapping up, but with a little introduction, because the Purpose Alliance is the collective of inspired doers that created or made this happen, and people can learn more about that at purposealliance.org. I first came, Francisco has been on the podcast, so in the show notes I'll include a link back to that, as well as to the manifesto. But this Purpose Alliance came alive in my life really when COVID started, when a global challenge was organized, and the global challenge are incredible sessions where people from every corner of the earth, every walk of life, is inspired to come together, typically for a week of some inspirational talks and motivational stuff online, just kind of in the afternoons and evenings. And then I think it's always on a Saturday, at least the ones I've been involved in, and I've probably been in 10, 12 so far. For say 3 hours, people craft, they come together based on the mission. And I think 3 weeks ago, we did one really specifically about the Ukraine crisis. Came out with some really incredible, 4 incredible ideas from that. But these people or startups that already have something now really think about, okay, well, what is a concept, an initiative that can be exponentially impactful now? And then they present that back, and then there's a group of advisors that sort of vet it and challenge it and inspire it further. And then if that group of people wants to either join up with another team or otherwise, they can be assigned to a mentor to bring it forward. And it's simply people wanting to improve the world, and it's just so amazing. So pretty much whenever I get an email saying, hey, we need a participant, a mentor, an advisor, I just say yes. And like, okay, if you need help making this happen, I am absolutely in. So people can find that at purposealliance.org, where they've also got some training and stuff, but the challenges are amazing. So that's my story about Purpose Alliance. Michael, how did you get involved in this as maybe the last question?
Yeah, so I got involved around the same time, and a bunch of us know each other through other cohorts, where I think the real answer is that it's energy that is created that works like a magnet, and for me, it's irrelevant how I got there. I know that I was drawn to it, and it's the purpose that sort of, or the desire or the commitment, the intention to want to do something, give back, the knowledge and the expertise and everything, give back to the world to create a better world. I'm a father as well. It keeps me busy. I mean, I want to make sure that we don't hand over our problems that we had a hand in creating onto our children to solve. That's not right. That's not what parents do. It's not just, when they fall and they hit their knee, you put a Band-Aid on their knee. No, it's about thinking, how can we make sure that we create the best world possible so they can even improve it after that for their children and so forth. The world should become better in the future and not, So that's what drew me in. And I look at the manifesto, and one of the values is actions over intentions. So I think what initially drew us all in was the intent to create a better world. But we also were very much drawn to that magnet of, okay, we can talk about this for hours, because honestly, I can talk about this for hours. I love talking about it, but that's not going to change anything. We have to do something, no matter how big. Actions over intentions. And that's why I'm there, and why I also love working with people like yourself and Francisco and many others.
It is a group of, and that's a word that I think I even learned from that community, the doers, inspired doers, purpose-driven inspired doers. It's great. We have purposely, to overuse that word, focused on the manifesto in this, and so we haven't really gotten into Michael's practice and other things. We touched on a little bit, but if you want to get in touch with Michael, the best place is probably on LinkedIn. So it's Michael Smits 2047 on LinkedIn. That will also be in the show notes. So wherever you're watching or listening to this, just click through the show notes page and you can find him there. He also has a number of organizations like metamorphony.com or .org. So you can find it there, but LinkedIn is probably the best place. Just reinforcing our invitation to go to the purposemanifesto.org, read it. If you're so inspired, sign it. If you're really inspired, share it to other people, and let's make the world a better place. So, Michael, thank you so much for jumping on today. I appreciate connecting again.
Likewise, and I love being here. So thank you very much, Chris. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you for listening. Download the Simplicity Toolkit from Ebullient.com to discover the power of the Simplicity Scan and Sprint. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast on your favorite player.